This is speed. This is winning. This is losing. This is NASCAR in Las Vegas, the South Point 400, a NASCAR playoff race, October 10th through 12th. Get your tickets now.
Football contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over 13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching? This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
Welcome in. It is a new season for Football Frenzy here on Sports by the Book. A new look for us. If you're joining us for the first time, our new digs down here with all of our jerseys. So you'll never forget, at least my last name and Alex's last name, since they're behind us. You'll never forget what city we're in, Vegas, and we'll never forget the Barbary Coast, as we know.
That's right.
Yeah, of course. I'm Jeff Parles. To my right, we have Alex White, of course, contest winner multiple times here in the city. Chris Andrews, Hall of Fame bookmaker here at the South Point Sportsbook director. And to my left, another Hall of Famer, our good friend Vinny Magliulo, always the best dressed, always the best hair on set every single week. So
Thank you.
We will be here every...
The bar's set pretty low, though. Let's, be honest.
Hey, don't disrespect.
I'm talking about the guys.
Don't
not
disrespect
her.
either of our flags here.
You see, I will never challenge. I won't comment on quaffs. I'm just,
It's a hell of a way to get the show going. We will be here every Friday at noon. An hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long we go to get you the best information in football coming up that weekend, college, NFL. Maybe we even will ask Vinny about the Alouettes and the Argonauts. Who knows? We'll hit it all across the landscape of football throughout this football season, as we've done the last 2 seasons. Season 3 for us on this show, Chris and Vinny.
All right.
And the first full season for Alex here on Football Frenzy. So we are looking forward to it here at the South Point studio. Since we're covering all football, just some quick hitters out of the gate here, because, of course, we all know you're here for Week 1A, as Vinny wants to call it, right?
Thank
Week
you.
1A. I'll call it Week 0. Sorry, Vinny.
No.
Sorry. Even though we can't.
Why?
Because it's fun. It's fun. It makes no sense. I'm a big fan of ridiculousness, and Week 0 is insane. But we do have preseason football wrapping up for the NFL this week. And Chris, as always, action is free flowing on these games. And we have a few tonight. We have a few this weekend. Just what have you got for tonight, this weekend, and how's it been through the first 2 weeks and 4 games?
Let me just give you the big moves, because we're all over the place, and this is the one sport we do move on air quite a bit, because it's not only handicapping, it's the information, and the information changes dramatically. But some of the big moves, we only had a couple really, and this one just kind of came about. The Bears were actually +1. Now they're -1. So that's kind of a 2-point move there, although we moved quickly off the pick'em. And the Falcons +2.5 is another game where we got a little bit of action on. And the Vikings, I think, is that tonight's game? Viking game over 37 is another kind of a mover. So that's what we got. And like I said, those are the big ones. Otherwise, we could be here for 2 hours talking about all these moves, and some move one way, then back the other way, and it's not my favorite time of the year is booking exhibition football.
Well, thankfully, you only have
a few hours to go.
Only a few hours left
Yeah.
of exhibition football,
Yeah.
and then Vinny, of course, and I got to bring it up as we always do here on the Quad Box, my friends. The $25,000 guaranteed jackpot parlay card. Vinny, when should everyone get these in? $5, as many cards as you want.
Right away, definitely. I just with our good friend John and Jody DeSimone, Chris, they're in from Toronto, and he had a stack of them.
I love those people. They're in? Okay, I hadn't
great.
seen them
Yeah,
yet.
they're in, and he had a stack. So he gave his wife, he said, here's $20. I said, get the 100 out.
Came all the way from
doing,
Toronto,
John?
you know.
He said I was getting there. I said, well, why wait? Come on, let her fire. So I went and grabbed another stack, and he thanked me and cursed me at the same time. But
By the way,
anyway,
since I'm sorry. Since we've been running this, it's never been 25,000. It's
more.
always over 25,000. I don't think have we hit 40 yet, Vinny?
close. I think a couple of years
we
ago,
got
Chris,
close,
but it
yeah.
typically gets north of 35 for
Yeah.
sure. And all that. So it's 25,000 guaranteed, but any additional goes into the pool.
Yeah, we don't put a penny in
So,
our pocket.
there's no
we don't
rake,
pay for
at all.
printing or nothing.
It felt like I think it was 2 years ago. You were like 38.5.
Yeah, it was closer.
It was a big number,
Something
close
like
to
that.
40.
Yeah.
Something like that.
2 years ago, and then
Yeah.
of course our old friend Frank Nicotero almost won last year.
Yeah.
So,
Very
coming
close.
close. Alex, you and I probably will have a few of these put in. Vinny, we'll make sure to get them in sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
I will not wait until 9:45 on that first
Yeah.
Sunday. I will not do that.
Please don't come to
Because
the
you know
window.
a few people will. And
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
We'll take
5 minutes
them,
to
but,
kick off, and,
we'd rather you don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be waiting in line.
Bet early, bet often. How's that?
Oh, there we go. Better, yeah. I like that. Bet early, bet often. Also,
Many as you want.
guys,
Responsibly.
before we get to our friend Joe D'Amico, who will have a play for this weekend in the preseason, and then we'll get into all the college action here for this weekend, I just want to bring up, because now that it's public, and Todd Dewey wrote a fabulous piece in the RJ earlier this week, that our good friend Jimmy Vaccaro, after, let's face it, a top three career in this industry,
Sure.
retiring from behind the counter and headed back home to the Pittsburgh area. And Jimmy, we love you. We all love you here on this desk, and we're going to miss the hell out of you. And I know you do already, Chris.
Yeah, let me just say a couple of things. First, I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah.
I've been talking to him not every single day, but usually a couple times a week. I also, so the Todd Dewey's great. That article, terrific article there. I retweeted because my upcoming book,
Yep.
Chapter 1 is Jimmy Vaccaro. So a couple guys were talking. I said, yeah, let me put that out there now. So you can go to my Twitter and feed and find that and read the first chapter in my upcoming book. One more thing I'd like to say. I personally hate it when somebody calls me legendary. I hate it. But Jimmy Vaccaro is legendary. That is legendary. Me, I'm still working for a living and try to scrape together numbers on a weekly and daily basis. But Jimmy Vaccaro is truly a legend in this business.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Chrissy summed it up beautifully. And by the way, read the chapter because it's very good.
And let me also say, there's a lot more about Jimmy in the book. That was just the first thing. So
And then One Life, correct?
then One Life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy, and God bless him because he's going on his terms. 50 years in this business.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And started like, Chris and I cut our teeth with the Gone family, and and he's had an impact on all of our careers, and not just friends. Now we can, we're lucky because Chrissy and I still get to talk to him whenever he's going to visit.
Yeah.
We're going to, break bread with him. We're going to play cards with him, and things like that. But you have to remember too, though, Jimmy, to me, he was kind of a bridge. Right, when I say that, so Jimmy, a little bit older than Chris and I, but younger than Bob Martin, Jackie Gone, Jack Franzi, and Jimmy. Even though we got to know those folks, I mean, obviously Chrissy, especially his uncle Jack Franzi, but when Jimmy was about 3 years ahead of us in the business, and he kind of bridged that generation to us and made it very beneficial to our careers and everything. So you know what? And going out on his terms, not everybody gets to do that, especially in this business. And for 50 years, he's definitely got his signature on it. And I'll be talking to him after the show today.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, it's like Chris. I think we alternate too. And he'll call us.
Well, we were at Bet Bash last week, and everybody, send their regards to Jimmy. Jimmy sent them back.
Yeah.
But what's great is the respect that Jimmy has.
Yeah.
And I mean, our generation, yeah, for sure. But I'm talking about like the Billy Walters of the world. There's only one Billy Walters. I shouldn't say that. But Billy Baxter, guys like that, guys who were, maybe also part of the other side of that bridge where Jimmy was.
Yeah, good point,
also
Chris, the other side of the counter, which was
great.
great.
But the respect that Jimmy has among everybody. So, we'll miss him personally. I know we got a poker game coming up this coming week, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of Jimmy stories to tell.
Love his picture.
Oh, I was going to say, are you going to invent a new game of cards?
I can't. I can tell you right now. Nobody can invent a poker game like Jimmy. I have no chance to. We rotate dealing. Obviously, I know we're getting old, but this is worth
please.
telling.
This is a classic
Jimmy
story.
Yeah.
We rotate, and it would be Jimmy's deal, and he'd start dealing cards. And say, Jimmy, what are we playing? I'll tell you in a minute. And he'd deal a few more cards, and Chrissy might have 2, Alex might have 4, you might have, 1 card. I have Jimmy, what are we playing? Well, and then he'd invent the game as we went along, right? And finally, everybody Jimmy, take the ball.
We have a couple friends from Reno. You remember this one? So Kenny Barley was a good friend.
Yes.
He brought a friend, and Scott's his name. We called him a tow truck company. We call him Tow Truck Tommy. Anyway, we're playing a game. Tow truck. We don't know this guy, but he comes. Jimmy deals out the card. He has a straight flush, and Jimmy says, "Wait a second. I got the rules messed up. Everybody throwing your cards." Now, this is like we have this gigantic pot because we're betting, we don't even know what we're betting on. But this kid has a straight flush, and that's going to win anything. And he's like looking, I mean, I knew him a little bit. Kenny knew him really well. And that Kenny whispers to me, "Wait, Tow Truck has a straight flush." Says, "Wait a second. Hang on. We cannot just fold up this hand because Jimmy didn't think of one stupid rule along the way."
Oh, man.
But that would be a typical Jimmy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, look, again, like you said, Vinny, in any industry, it doesn't happen very often to go out on your own terms. And Jimmy able
God
to,
bless him.
the best there was. Our good friend Jimmy Vaccaro, who hopefully is watching us from Trafford, Pennsylvania right now, here today. All right. We are going to check in with our friend Joe D'Amico, Cup of Joe. We're going to hear from Joe every single week. We'll hear from Joe twice today. But first, Joe's got a look at a preseason game tonight. So we'll hear from Joe D'Amico right now here on Football Frenzy on Sports by the Book.
Hello, sports fan. He's back. Joe D is back with Cup of Joe on Sports by the Book's Football Frenzy every week. Don't make a move. Don't pull the trigger until you watch this show. I've got a big preseason NFL winner for you. Right now, I'm on a 5-1 NFL documented run. Overall, 7-2-1 on documented plays. I want to talk about the Bears and the Chiefs. My friends, after being humiliated in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs came back down to earth. No doubt about that. Now, folks, they're certainly one of the best teams, not just in the AFC, but in all of the NFL. They're expected to be an AFC contender and win 11.5 games. Last preseason saw them go 0-3, both straight up and against the spread. They have lost and failed to cover both games thus far this preseason. And in my opinion, that's what makes Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and company so good. As good as they are, they don't have an ego compelling them to win in August. Now, I do think several stars are going to play some series here tonight. Always do your due diligence and check the status, guys. But do you really think they're going to jeopardize their key contributors for too long in their final preseason contest? I doubt it very much. Now, if they were going to make a statement this preseason, they would have done it already instead of losing by 3 to Arizona and 17 to Seattle. Arrowhead Stadium is already sold out for the season, folks. Their fans know they're a Super Bowl contender. They have nothing to prove in this game. However, you know who has something to prove? The Chicago Bears. This is a team expected to finish last in the AFC North and accumulate just 8.5 wins. They put up points in their preseason opener to a tie with Miami, 24-all, and then came out last week. What did they do? They totally shellacked one of the best teams in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills 38-0. While I think this team has a lot to work out, and they're going to struggle at times this season, they certainly have a loyal fan base, one of the best in all of sports, and they'll come out in this final game of the preseason and play like it's the NFC title game for them. I'm telling you now, they're going to come out like this, like there's no tomorrow. And I think for them, there really isn't. They have to get their fans excited. They have to get some momentum going into the regular season. I feel they have what it takes to win this game outright. Right now, as of this segment, they were getting like 1.5, but I'll take the 1.5 just on the side of caution. Take the Bears and take your bookmakers' money.
Welcome back. Whoa, what a transition. Welcome back in to Football Frenzy on a Friday, the first edition of the 2025 season. Oh, I love this quad box. I love it. I'm Jeff Parles. I'm in the top right. Alex is in the top left. Then Chris Andrews. Then Vinny Magliulo. It's the South Point bunch here today.
You went counterclockwise. So I noticed that. That was very good.
Yeah.
Like a European horse race.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? My brain works in mysterious ways from time to time, Vincenz.
You could do that, buddy. You're the host. Go ahead.
Let's get into college football. Of course, we have Week 1A. I'll play it your way there.
Thank you.
Coming up, we have all of our plays, 5 games, 4 FBS, VFBS, and then, of course, UNLV taking on Idaho State. We'll also have some FCS games this weekend. And are you guys putting those up tomorrow? The
We'll
FCS
put one
games?
up tomorrow.
Yeah, so those will be up tomorrow, the FCS, VFCS games. But let's look at the national championship odds, a nice natural spot to begin. And Alex, the Texas Longhorns, who amazingly enough, and I was stunned when I read this, for the first time in program history, the number 1 team in the AP poll going into the season.
Well, that is amazing.
Which is stunning for how good Texas has been through their history.
Yeah.
They are not only number 1 in the AP poll, but polls don't make prices. But in this spot, they do line up with the poll. They're the betting favorite at plus 450, kicking off the odds board, Alex.
A lot of expectations for the Longhorns team with Arch Manning there. And then 4 right under there that are not double digits as well. Penn State, 5-1, loaded roster, bringing a lot of people back for James Franklin's team. Ohio State, the reigning champion, 6-1, and then Georgia, plus 850.
And Chris, that block of 10-1 teams that we see, Clemson, Alabama, and Oregon, you've taken a little bit of money on both the Tide and the Tigers there, now sitting at 10-1.
Yeah, actually, I had them 12, I think, both of them, and, knocked them down a little bit. Listen, in years past, we always like that, and we'll talk about a prop a little later.
Yep.
But last year was, I thought it was clearly the 2 best teams going into the season were Georgia and Ohio State. There's no clear favorite here. I mean, we have Texas number 1, and they're one of my highest power-rated teams, but they're a dog week 1.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's anything but a slam dunk. Of course, they're going to Ohio State, which is, I think, any team in the country is going to be a dog at this point in time going into Ohio State. But I think, you got that tranche in the middle, like the 10s, and, I'm looking, you got Notre Dame in there, and, even below that, not too far down, and, you have LSU, and, there's a lot of really good teams, I think, that have a chance. And somebody's going to come out of nowhere, like Arizona State did last year. Now, they obviously didn't win it, but they made the playoffs, and they were a hell of a team. So somebody's coming out of nowhere. Who that is, I have no idea.
I'm interested really quick, Jeff. Once the bracket was set last year, and you got a really good number on Notre Dame because of the path that they had to get there. Do you remember what that number was?
12-1 on Notre Dame. It was 12-1 right before the bracket came out because they figured they were either going to be 6th or 7th. And once Georgia won the SEC title game without Carson Beck, and it was pretty apparent we weren't going to see him again, that was when I took it. And I think it was 10-1 right as the bracket was revealed. And, hey, look, that's always the deal with futures. As we know, you can get better numbers right up to the beginning of this bracket throughout the year here. And Vinny, just looking at the right side of this graphic where we were talking earlier in the week, it's pretty fun to see Oklahoma with our guy Moneyline Mateer. Shout out Brett McMurphy on that. Oklahoma's been one of the heavier teams hit in your future book, along with USC, who's just right behind them at 50-1, Oklahoma at 40-1 going into the year.
Yeah, there were some folks that got, and again, Chris puts these out right after the championships game from earlier this year, 2025. So, You look at Oklahoma at one time 100-1, right? I mean, and so certainly play like the second-year coach now. Let's see how Venables is there. Let's see how things work out. He's had another year. SC, look, Lincoln Riley. He's got to produce here, right? And I think
I think both those guys.
Yeah, I think SC. When you look at it again, at 100-1 at one point now, and at one point to start, and now down to 50-1. Look, the other part is this: you've got 12 teams that get into the play. All you want when you're looking at these, especially these longer prices, you want your team to get into the playoff, and then you've got some room to maneuver with it. What do you want to call it, hedging or augmenting what you have and things like that. You're in a good position, particularly when you get a price. And even Notre Dame, you mentioned Notre Dame, they're 14-1 now. They were 20-1 after last the title game earlier this year. So futures. The good thing about futures is you can play them preseason, you can play them early in the season, you can play them as the season goes, and the other benefit of this expanded playoff is that teams are not eliminated early on as they were when there were only 4 teams going to the playoffs. Let's face it, and we'll get into that I think that's also a benefit that we've got so many good games. You would not see Texas and Ohio State playing
Clemson,
in
LSU.
Week 1, Clemson, LSU, a lot of these games because without the new playoff format. So that's a big benefit, especially to our side of the counter where we can do such great business on these matchups.
Well, when we get to the full-on Week 1, I mean, you have Texas, Ohio State, which is just a sick game for Week 1. Sure. And it might not even be the best game of the weekend when it's all said and done because LSU Clemson is awesome. Notre Dame and Miami's two top 10 teams doing battle. I mean, it is an unbelievable slate in Week 1. You see Notre Dame, a slight road favorite. Ohio State, of course, as you mentioned earlier, favorite against Texas. And then Clemson, the biggest favorite of those 3 games, favorite against LSU, even though Brian Kelly taunting Death Valley in Clemson is always a very smart idea going into it.
Brian Kelly
just can't help himself.
He can't help.
He just can't help himself. There,
reminds me of the old Ron White story. He got arrested one time. He says, "I had the right to remain silent. I didn't have the ability."
I think there's quite a few people that would probably say that as well.
That's what I think about Kelly.
Pretty good. Yeah. I like that. By the way, shout out to our friend Sean Higgs with the super chat and chatting along with us here today. If you got any plays for this weekend, we're looking at Week 0 games, of course, through the weekend. Next week, we'll have the full Week 1 preview as well.
We got to see Sean last week.
We did. He was at Bet Bash.
Yes. And he was here at the South Point.
Give us a couple plays.
Yeah, he did. He's always good. Got a good opinion.
In New Jersey, now Texan, Sean Higgs. We love him.
Boy, that accent got to be funny in Texas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why, doesn't everybody talk the same now?
No, they
just slightly. All right. Also, too, as you noticed on the odds board, a lot of SEC flavor and Big Ten flavor at the top of it. You guys, Chris, last year, Vinny, you naturally had, hey, it looks like it's going to be Ohio State or Georgia versus the field. Yeah. That's the prop you put up. It took a very wayward way to get there.
It sure did.
But Ohio State got it done for the Ohio State-Georgia
side. The Bear
side.
bet us right as soon as we put it up. He took the 2 teams. Yep. And there was times during the year, I'm sure Bear was looking and say, geez, why did I do that? But in the end, he cashed.
He got there.
He got there. He got the dough.
Yeah.
But a lot of two-way action on that, right?
We did, a lot of two-way.
It moved quite a bit
back
and forth throughout the year.
Well, we kept it up all year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was there was tons of movement.
And we now have a different looking prop, very similar to what you guys usually do for basketball here, Chris. Which conference will have the champion in it? The SEC is the slightest of favorites over the Big Ten, plus 135. Just more teams that are capable of winning it all.
Yeah,
even
a little
though
bit.
The Big Ten's Big Three is the best of the Big Threes, probably out there going into the year, plus 140. The ACC, which realistically speaking, Clemson and Miami,
right?
Both with shots at 10-1. Yeah. The Big 12, which it's again you saw on the odds board, Arizona State was on the only one in the top 20 for best odds.
Yeah, but they will have a seat at the table.
They will be there.
They will have
Someone
a seat
will be
at the
there.
table.
Mm-hmm. So 20-1 on the Big 12, and then Notre Dame and the G5 at 10-1 in the field.
Yeah, you got Notre Dame by themselves 14-1, and again, somebody will have a seat at the table. Right now, Boise looks like the odds-on favorite for that. But, again, we got a long way to go. And, we'll see what happens. Excuse me, the Big 12, I guess we have Kansas State the favorite, but not by much. I mean, you got the sheet here. We'll kind of talk about that, but that's a wide open conference, and again, somebody may jump up that's a lot better than we suspect right now. I mean, last year, what did we think of BYU? Not much.
Correct.
They wound up having a pretty good year, and Arizona State. Not to rub salt in any wounds, Jeffrey, but you, among many others, voted them 16th.
I was
in
all
a 12-team league. So
Chris, I was all over it. I don't know what you're talking about. I knew they were going to be either top or bottom.
We record these things. We have tapes.
Well, now forget that. Not only that. It's on the. It's public record with the Big 12 voting.
You were not alone, Jeff. I think the consensus that they were the worst team in the Big 12 last year. So I'm busting your chops, but you were far from being
wasn't
alone.
the only one. Hey, look, we're even if we're doing this well, we're still wrong 45% of the time.
Oh my God,
at least.
Somebody's going to be a surprise.
So somebody's going to surprise.
Maybe Baylor. I mean, Baylor's a lot of.
We got a little bit of money on Baylor.
Talking about
Baylor. Another
this
team
year.
I would think could have a surprise in the ACC. Louisville. Keep my eye on Louisville.
Score can score.
Well, I want to
Up-tempo.
continue. I want to continue the discussion with the Big 12 because,
Okay.
of course, this weekend, obviously, we have a mega conference game in Dublin, Ireland, which we'll get to.
Opening the season.
Our preview of Farmageddon in Ireland, as the creators of college football intended over 100 years ago, guys. But here you go. You look at these odds, and look, Chris, Vinny, if there's any win total that we should be looking at too, where it felt like that half the league got hit in the win total market as well.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it. Baylor and Utah, now you're betting favorites entering today at 5-1. Then you have Kansas State in action this weekend at plus 550, and then the best team the money can buy in West Texas at Texas Tech at plus 550. And then hit the defending champs with their quarterback coming back, who some think might be a top 10 NFL draft pick this upcoming draft at 6-1. A wide open league, and as you said, Chris, before, I mean, Arizona State wasn't even a thought last year, and they were a fourth down stop away from being in the semifinal of the college football playoff a year ago.
Again, they're going to have a seat at the table. Now, how far they can go and what kind of a dog they are, we don't know. But, another team that, again, we'll talk about them a little later, Iowa State. I think that's a team. I still think Kansas is live.
Yeah.
But who I think is a little overrated? Utah.
Interesting.
I have them on my list as being overrated. I mean,
Interesting.
No, I think Chris
obviously
brings up an
they
interesting
could be
point.
my Arizona State last year, but I think Utah's a little overrated. That's just my personal opinion.
I like them. I just breaking down the
Most people
schedules.
do.
I don't love their schedule.
Yeah.
I think some of the others that are right up there with the short odds have a little more favorable schedules.
And
Help them out.
it's funny too, because I agree with you. That is, if we're looking at schedules in the Big 12, Utah's schedule is difficult because they have to play the other top of the looked at top 5 to me. They play the other 4. They play Arizona State. They play Texas Tech. They have to go to Baylor, and they play Kansas State. Now the good thing is they get 3 of those 4 at home. But for some with Utah, Chris, and the sour taste that we had from last year, where they were playing down to their 4th and 5th quarterbacks last year because Rising attempted to play. And then I just wonder on the positive end for them, having a stable quarterback finally again for the first time in 3 years, does that help? But if you look at their roster, I mean, talent-wise, Texas Tech is the most talented in this league. I don't think there's much of an argument on that. It's just a matter of any of them putting it together.
Well, that's just. I mean, the biggest question marks with the teams that we're talking about right now is the quarterback situation too, right? I mean, with Rising situation, it's not like they were able to overcome that a year ago. Even so, now is it a bounce back? That's really what you're looking at. If you're going to support Utah, Texas Tech probably the most athletic team, and with their style of play. But when you look at the win totals, right? So you could say, okay, there's the conference odds there, but you've got Utah sitting at 8 wins, right? And 8 under was the favorite. They bet a little bit on the over. They took a plus a dime for a little bit on the over. But Texas Tech at 8.5. Okay, they bet them over. So the way the bettors, the public is looking at this conference, they like Texas Tech even more than Utah. So it's not just when you're looking at it and breaking it down, and when you're taking into consideration who you want to look at for a price on a conference future, maybe you want to look at how the regular season wins are being bet and how those numbers look too, before you make your final selection.
I mean, my feeling on Utah is I think they pad their. I went through, and I've talked about this. Tried to do a lot of work on home field advantage, and I've been trying to do that for the last 3 years. Utah is among my teams with the highest home field advantage. I give them 5 points for home field.
Eccles, a great environment.
So I mean, there's a couple other teams that have 5s, but I think if you look at them, they do show their vulnerability on the road. So it's not just how tough are they at home. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between home and road? And I just don't think they're that great of a road team. Sure. Because I do think they have a decent advantage at home with the altitude and. The fans are, there's not much else going on in Utah at that time. So they're pretty rabid and they've been tough over years. But I think they're vulnerable on the road to teams, and I'm not sure. I don't have their schedule right in front of me. I'm not sure who they play on the road. But
so real quick, the game that I have circled for Utah. So they play week 1 they're at UCLA.
Okay,
all right.
I think UCLA is underrated. That's a team I think is underrated.
They go to Wyoming, weird spot.
Okay, that's
at West Virginia in September, won't be that big of an impact. At BYU, we know that is a crazy rivalry.
That would never be an easy game.
Yeah, and then
freshman quarterback though, right? First time in the history of BYU with a freshman quarterback.
Wearing number 47, by the way, as well, Vinny.
Naturally.
Baylor and at Kansas.
At Kansas game,
last game of the year at
Kansas
on a Black Friday.
Yeah,
that Baylor game's at Baylor, right?
It's in Waco. Yes.
Yeah. So they have we mentioned the games that they have at home, and I think sometimes you have to watch out some teams that may pad their power rating and their record, by winning big at home, and that's the way I feel about Utah. To tell you the truth, I think they should have done better last year, even with rising in and out of that lineup. I just thought I had them dropping down way far in my power ratings. I just thought they should have responded a little bit better, and I have to question that.
I want to ask you about one more team in the Big 12, why we are here, that I think might be just a little undervalued. TCU, where do you have them in comparison to this conference?
I got them like 2 points below Utah, and I'm looking their power, they have a pretty good home field advantage too. I give them 4 points at home. But I think TCU, that's another team. Over the years, they've been very good. A lot of times when we never expect them to be good, like, what was that, 2 years ago or 3 years ago? They wound up in the championship game. So I think TCU, I would not overlook them.
Well,
by the way,
with that number, 12-1, I think it was.
And then Texas Tech, they didn't address quarterback. They spent all that money, and they have big question marks at quarterback. Yeah. You think you'd spend a couple of bucks there, but they didn't. But we will see. We don't know how good these guys are, so who knows?
I don't love their schedule either. I like them a lot, and I do have them second in this conference, but I don't have them making it to the championship. It's a little tease for later when we give out ours.
I think I have them, my top-rated team, in the conference, but obviously schedule means a lot.
Sure.
And, we'll see what happens.
Well, let's pivot to the ACC real quick here because, of course, you mentioned TCU a moment ago. TCU opens the Bill Belichick tenure in Chapel Hill against North Carolina. But Chris, Vinny, Alex, this conference begins and ends with the two teams at the top, the Clemson Tigers and the Miami Hurricanes. You mentioned Louisville earlier, who is the third favorite. Great coach. High-end transfer quarterback, and Miller Moss comes over from USC as well. The Ponies, who were in the playoffs a year ago, there as well, ranked again, also 8-1. And then Georgia Tech is 10-1, who, again, Georgia Tech burst onto the scenes with that upset victory in Dublin against Florida State.
We'd like to have that number back. What were they, like a 20-point dog or whatever?
I think it was close to two touchdowns.
Yeah.
But guys, again, this is a league that is super top-heavy, and the bottom looks as weak as any power conference going into the year.
Yeah, it depends on how far you talk about the top, because I do think, like I said, I think Louisville is a pretty good team. I think Georgia Tech is getting a lot of attraction in the offseason. They open up against Colorado. We've had a lot of money on Georgia Tech in that game. So, like I said, I think Louisville is a live team. I like that quarterback that they got from USC. Love the coach. So it kind of depends on your definition, how far you go down. But you're right. The bottom of the conference, Wake Forest and the Virginia teams are no bargain. North Carolina is anybody's guess. I mean, obviously, I had to come up with a rating on them, but I wouldn't. I look for that one to move quite a bit one way or the other. So I don't know.
Well, I will say, with your season win totals, Alex and I both went through every single power conference game earlier this week. I had North Carolina right on your number at 7, so I thought 7 was perfect.
Well, nice to hear, but but it might be 3 or it might be 12. Who knows?
Their schedule. It's interesting because they're the one. What a change for North Carolina football, right? Yeah. They're the one. They're other than Clemson and Miami. They're the third team that everyone seems to have some sort of an opinion on. Of either, hey, their schedule's really easy. They might win 9 games, or how is Belichick possibly going to be good in the collegiate ranks? Where again, it's kind of odd to say about the guy who's looked at as a top 3 NFL coach of all time.
Right. One of my things about North Carolina, I don't know. We've had Dave Bartu on our show, and
Smart guy.
I love Bartu, and he has a great analysis of coaches, including not just head coaches, but coordinators as well. He went through some numbers I read recently. Mac Brown was not a good coach. He was a hell of a recruiter. Yeah. Was not a good coach. So just an average coach would probably move North Carolina up a little bit. But again, we don't know how Belichick's going to respond. I mean, he's not he's not dealing with 28-year-old veterans. He's talking to 20-year-old kids. And sometimes that communication doesn't work so well. Wild card for sure, right? How the communication and how that's going to work. Look, is he an upgrade at coach? Yeah, but how's that going to translate? I mean, the whole thing about communication now, and it's a different level of communication now. And then let's remember, a lot of these kids are making a lot of money too, right? So, but I think when it starts with Clemson. They have the best quarterback in the league when you look at it, and that's where you have to start breaking teams down. Miami, we know all the talent in the world, but then all of a sudden they get to a game where they're not supposed to lose and they blow it. But it's not the death sentence again, as we talked about. Louisville, up tempo. They play football like they play basketball. It seems, and. SMU, by the way. Yeah, we haven't even talked about SMU. One of the few teams in the country that has starting quarterback, starting coach, and both coordinators coming back. Again, going back to Dave Bartu, terrific coaching staff. Yeah, I mean, that stability is important. And you say, well, they came out of nowhere last year. I'm not so sure they came out of nowhere. They were consistent. Yeah, you had them pegged early. You were all over it early. You had them pegged early. So having that kind of stability at those 4 key positions, head coach, both coordinators, and quarterback, I think is certainly important. And they still have a lot of talent coming back too, and they know what it takes to get to the playoffs. So, but it's Clemson's division, and then all these teams. Georgia Tech, Chrissy, you brought up a good point. Tough, very tough out, and we know that North Carolina is going to get a lot of attention because of Belichick. Now, how that translates into A, wins, and B, covers in our world remains to be seen.
I want to shift gears to another power conference, and we go to the Big Ten now, where this is as good of a 3-headed monster going into a season that I can remember. And look, that includes those heavy-duty SEC years where it was like, oh, the top 4 in the SEC might be 4 of the 5 best teams in the country. But you have the defending champs in Ohio State where, there's some questions. They did lose both coordinators. Right. Of course, to Penn State on the defensive side of the ball. And Chip Kelly's, of course, now here in Vegas with the Raiders. New quarterback, Julian Sayin, now will be the starter at Ohio State. But they still are, to me, the 2 best players in the country on both sides of the ball. Caleb Downs on defense and Jeremiah Smith on offense. Penn State, they lose Abdul Carter and actually look to be better than they were a year ago. That's a big loss, though. Oh, he's the best defensive player in the country last year. And then you have Oregon, who, you know what, I got to give Dan Lanning a ton of credit because he's basically just now created such a winning culture up there and a be able to restock, reload, and have a mega roster yet again. Also, their schedule is pretty easy other than the trip to Happy Valley in week 4. But, Chris, this is a top-heavy league, but you can't discount Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, USC. Middle tier is pretty darn good as well again.
You mentioned that middle tier. Again, I think somebody's going to come out of that. I was kind of high on Illinois this year, and I was 2 years ago. Last year, they won 10 games. When I look back at them,
they were so good in close games.
Yeah, geez. But anyway, a couple people that I highly respect think that they're not going to be that good this year. A lot of people that I respect also think Indiana's going to be just as good, maybe not record-wise, but the team will be just as good as they were last year. And, of course, hey, they were very good. Hearing some good things about Michigan. Of course, they got a young quarterback, highly touted, but, let's see him on the field. I got one guy I greatly respect who thinks Michigan State is a lot better than people think. Jeff, I made that same face. I was kind of surprising to me. But, Nebraska, with Rule, it's his third year there. In the past, his third year has been very good. And USC, it's hard to totally discount USC. That's still an attractive place to go play for kids across the country. And I mentioned UCLA earlier. I think UCLA, I don't put them up in that category of the teams we just talked about, but I think they'll be improved from last year.
Well, they should be. They got one of the better quarterbacks coming from Tennessee,
the kid from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Alva, yep.
So that'll be very interesting to see. I definitely have those top 3 pretty big size above the rest, at least 4.5 points there. So I'd be kind of surprised not to see those 3. But to your point, Jeff, with Oregon, just such an easy transition into the Big Ten too, and just right there with those other top 2. So it'll be interesting. But we're expecting again 3 teams from this conference into the playoffs.
It's either got to be. The number's got to be for out there 3.5 with juice on the under. For this, it would be a shock to me if Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State are not in the playoff. Whatever order they finish, anyone's guess. You can make a case for anyone, even though, again, boy, I said it at Bet Bash last week that I'm picking Penn State to win the national championship, and that terrifies me, as you know.
Terrifies me too as a fan.
It depends. If somebody comes out of it like Indiana did last year, whether it's Nebraska or SC. Or one of the other schools that we mentioned, you could possibly get a fourth team.
Absolutely.
Especially if, if 3 teams have 1 loss and 1 has 2, but their quality against maybe those 1 losses were against that 2-loss team. So not out of the question. Again, we're talking about a conference that's right there with the SEC in terms of the prop, right? There's a 5-cent difference there.
Yeah.
And it's predicated what that prop. When you look at it, it's predicated on Texas and Penn State, really, not so much Ohio State. Penn State, the big question mark about Chrissy and I talk about this was quite a bit, and there was a lot of talk about Penn State at Bet Bash. Upgrade at defensive coordinator,
big time,
no question. It's the head coaching, I think, position. I think, or I should say this: do you have a bigger question about the head coach or the quarterback position? And I think that's what. Now, enormously talented team. Again, I think they're the team to beat in the in the conference because of everything they've got coming back. Ohio State going through more of a transition with the new quarterback and the new coordinators.
Yeah.
And again, their defensive coordinator, it goes to the one of the arch rivals in the conference, right? The only other thing would have been if you went to Michigan.
Well, forget it. You never would have been allowed back in the state of Ohio if that was the case.
But think about it, really. Going to Happy Valley is, kind of a shock too, right?
That's a big rivalry too.
Yeah.
Jeff, to your point, the loss of the 2 coordinators for Ohio State, I think is really going to hurt them. Yeah. And we talked about Oregon. Yeah, it really all started with Chip Kelly.
Sure.
And he's with the Raiders now. He was with Ohio State last year,
Mm-hmm.
And then the defensive coordinator, of course, was over at Penn State. But the offensive coordinator was a guy with Lance Leopold for a long time with Kansas.
Colton Ecke is Penn State.
He's a terrific offensive coordinator. So I think if you look at coaching staff, and there's legitimate questions about Franklin. I understand that, but sometimes those assistant coaches can boost you up a little bit because it's not like he gets murdered in these games. He just doesn't win.
He loses in the most agonizing fashion possible.
Tell
more
me
times
about
than
it.
not. So, all right. Real quick, we're going to hit the SEC in a second, but I do want to just ask real quick about Notre Dame, who I know has been hit in the win total market, Chris. And look, they have 2 brutal games to begin the year. They're at Miami, then they have a bye week, and then they host A&M, who I think A&M could
Another
be
tough
really,
team,
really good. But then after that, the schedule really gets pretty light where they have to play. USC's the toughest game in the last 10. We're talking about a team that was in a national title game a year ago. Now a new quarterback in C.J. Carr, but Jeremiah Love, their star running back, of course, back yet again.
Yeah. Hearing some good things about Carr.
Yeah.
And I love that coach, too. Freeman, I think, is a hell of a coach. Boy, Chip Kelly got to be – or not Chip Kelly, Kelly from LSU. He left Notre Dame because you couldn't win a national championship there, and it was Freeman in the championship game. But I think that that's another team that those first 2 games are extremely hard. But again, to Vinny's point, it's great having these games now because you lose one early, you're not out of it. So I think it's great. There's a lot of things I don't like about college football right now. The transfers and all that. But the NIL money, I think, is going to keep some of these kids around, and I think that is good for the game. Quarterbacks, you look at Richardson from the Colts. What do you have, 13 starts?
Yes.
I mean, that wouldn't happen now.
No.
I mean, a kid's going to probably get at least 2 years, maybe more. I mean, some of these quarterbacks, how old was Penix when he came out? He was like 25 or
38.
something. Yeah. Okay, but I mean, those kind of things keeps these kids around, and I think the game, the college game and the pro game will benefit from that.
100% agree with that.
I mean, the biggest move, I think, in terms of regular season wins, by at least a 50-cent move, was to the under 10.5, right, Chris, on Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And,
well, you better lose one. If you bet the under, you better lose one of them first 2 games.
Or lose them both and not sweat it the rest of the way.
Yeah, that's it. But look, college football is better with Notre Dame involved. I mean, look at the with the playoff. I mean, the interest. Everybody's got an interest. Again, Notre Dame, right? The Yankees of college football. You either love them or you love to hate them, and you love to bet on them, or you love to bet against them. So, one of the more recognizable teams in a variety of scenarios. But they've been popular to go against. People just saying, and it's not like you're saying they're not going to be good. They're saying, listen, we don't think they can, you're betting it under. We don't think they can win 11 games. So that's, or 10 games even.
My favorite tidbit from you last year, Vinny, they lose to Northern Illinois week 2. They would have been a bigger favorite if they played later in the season than they were when they got upset.
In that last month, they would have been
35, right?
I told you that?
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Let's get the SEC here. Before we start looking at these week 1A games. There you go, Vinny.
Thank you.
Look, the SEC, as you see, high-end talent, Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier are your 2 Heisman favorites over at DK and FanDuel. But here you go, Chris, Vinny, Alex. Texas, as I mentioned before, first time in program history, the number 1 team in the AP poll going into the season, which is shocking to say the very least. But then you have Georgia with a new quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. You have LSU with Brian Kelly finally having the pressure on. You have Alabama after Kalen DeBoer's first season was, by Bama standards, a disaster. Mm-hmm. You have a new quarterback in Ty Simpson there. And then you have this collection of teams behind them where South Carolina and Florida are very highly looked at by the pollsters. You have Auburn, who a lot of sharp bettors seem to like this year.
All of a sudden,
you have Ole Miss, who's still there, who you know is going to have a high-end offense with Lane Kiffin. And then you have year 2 in College Station with Mike Elko, who started to change the culture, and they were 1 win away against Texas last year from being in the SEC title game. This is, again, a very loaded conference, really. 12 of 16 teams, you could make an argument for, hey, they could win 10 games this year. Really, basically, Arkansas and below, you cannot make an argument for that.
I'm looking over. I have my top 3 teams in the country, and all with the exact same power rating. Penn State, Texas, Georgia.
There you go.
I think Georgia's going to be very good. And I think a lot of people have fallen asleep on Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell you, don't do that because they're going to be really good again. And just to backtrack, another thing, too, at Bet Bash, I had some really sharp guys that I greatly respect. I think I have Alabama underrated. I have them a couple points below those. Matter of fact, 2.5 points below Texas and Georgia. But he thinks that they're going to be better than that.
We'll find out a lot about Kalen DeBoer, right? Because it felt like a lot of the blame was that it was not his quarterback. So we'll see what he can do this year with Ty Simpson. And I'm very interested to see what happens with Georgia because Carson Beck was there for how long? And now, of course, he's with Miami. And then Gunnar Stockton, which we saw very limited action from him last year, too. But I don't know if he's quite as good. He seems more like a rah-rah leadership kind of quarterback. But
yeah, I think they have a deep roster, though. Georgia's recruited well and has done well in the transfer portal. I mean, that's a deeply talented team. I understand the questions of quarterback. That's legitimate. But, sometimes questions could be answered in a very positive way.
It's impressive, right, when they can actually keep depth with the NIL right now. Because typically nobody wants to sit behind and wait for their chance. So some of these programs that continue to.
It's super interesting with Georgia. We talk about it as, it's this grand disappointment last year. They won the SEC.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's the funny part with it. Yeah, they went out in the quarterfinal of the college football playoff, but they never recovered. Everyone points to, Beck not playing as well, and then obviously he gets hurt. I mean,
the first half killed him.
Well, forget that video.
Right?
You lose the best tight end in college football, and you lose a guy who Lad McConkey turned out to be legitimately the Chargers' number one receiver last year. It's going to be hard for anyone to replace that. And Georgia still won the SEC a year ago. I do want to piggyback on one thing you said, Alex, about Alabama. Not only a new quarterback, but Kalen DeBoer gets his old friend Ryan Grubb back, who was with the Seahawks a year ago. They let him go. He comes back to Alabama to be the offensive coordinator. Of course, DeBoer and Grubb were the masterminds of that Washington National Championship appearance with Michael Penix and company just 2 short years ago. So it's not like DeBoer forgot how to coach last year.
He's had tremendous success throughout his career.
Chris, going into last year, he had a career 15 career losses in about 15 years of coaching, going between NIA and Fresno State and White. He's an amazing coach.
Absolutely.
He'll be fine with time.
Which conference has a better chance of getting 4 in?
SEC does.
SEC or the Big Ten? Probably the SEC. You look at these teams and again, the top 4 that we're mentioning. But again, there's going to be difficult. Here's where the other teams besides Texas benefit from all of this Arch Manning hype. There's a lot of pressure on him. There's which puts a lot of pressure on the school. So I think that gives them not a pass, but it gives them a little bit of, let the attention be over there.
True.
Over there in Austin, right? And we'll take care of our business. So enormous expectations for the Longhorns. And I think that's okay with the rest of the conference, just from a little psychological standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, how shocked would you be if, you mentioned those 3 teams, Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Would you be shocked if LSU made it? Would you be shocked if A&M made it?
Not at all.
Would you be shocked if Mississippi made it?
No.
Just run down
that
list.
A lot of good teams.
How about Florida? That's another team.
Florida.
How about Auburn? We talked about them getting a lot of wise guy action lately. So, that's a lot of good team. And probably no more than 4 of them will make it.
Yeah.
But, there's a couple teams that will be playing some New Year's Day bowls.
And I know there was, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you said, I just think there will be a forgiveness from the committee more so to these teams in the SEC than the Big Ten.
Probably.
Where if we're going all right, let's say it's a 10-2 Indiana versus a 10-2 LSU, we know who's getting the nod 100% of the time in that.
Yeah,
it's going to be the purple and gold, and of course, as you look at the odds board, SEC is 16 teams. There are 20 teams on that board on our sheet, and 11 of them are in the Southeastern Conference. So in the top 20 odds, and again, it's a loaded conference as always, Vinny.
we didn't even get to Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Tennessee, who's an afterthought this year. I think Tennessee's going to stink, but that's a different conversation for next week.
I think they've got to reload some. Oklahoma, lots of question marks for sure. I think South Carolina, as great as they were playing at the end, the second half of last
a little
season,
overrated by the polls.
I think maybe a step back. Maybe so. We talk about who's taking a step forward. Some teams you have to look at. Then who's going to maybe take that step back too?
The week 0 games are coming up next. I just want to finish off with the games of the year that you guys have had out for a little bit over a month now, Chris. Just any games, Vinny, either whoever wants to answer, any games that stand out in the way that, hey, this has gotten hit pretty hard so far?
I got hit pretty good on Penn State over Oregon, which kind of surprised me.
5 to 6.5.
Yeah, that's kind of a big move, you know. Did I give you any others?
I mean, Miami and Florida, the U moved to 4 from 3.
Yeah.
Illinois and Indiana from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
They played Nevada against UNLV the final week of the season in the battle for the Cannon. The Penn State Oregon one with the list that stood out. I mean, 1.5 in the summer, especially with 2 of the 3 best teams in that conference is pretty wild.
I think we did a good job on the games of the year this year. Can I go one thing, though? This is advice for all our handicappers out there. Games of the year and season win totals, all these teams are priced for perfection. Okay, they're all priced for perfection. The quarterback gets hurt for Alabama. I don't know who the backup is, or for Miami or whoever. That can drop precipitously. Now, I mean, I'm looking at the real bottom rung teams, the Kent States of the world. I mean, they can really fall. And I mean, I always go through at the end, towards the end of the year, where did I miss? And I usually miss on the high end, again, because teams are rated for perfection. Now, some teams outperform,
Sure.
After Notre Dame, after that Northern Illinois loss, I mean, they, obviously wound up in the national championship game. That was a big plus. But a lot of teams, they drop, again, precipitously because, the Kent States of the world, how are they going to survive any injuries at all? Or, Akron, just run through. I mean, I'm picking on the MAC. But, there's a lot of teams like that. So watch out when some of these things start dropping. Boy, the bottom can drop out fast and heavily. So keep it in mind that we're priced for perfection at this point.
And when those losses in particular take place during the course of the year, right? If it's again, you're not done early, but emotionally, when those, especially when the ratings, right, the committee's rankings start coming out, it could affect teams psychologically.
And coaches lose the locker room sometimes.
Sure. Yeah,
Loxley out of Maryland famously.
He's going to lose it again this year, too.
Might lose it again this year, too. But I think they have some talent, but we'll see. But if they start losing it, that's a team that I have marked that could drop, again, I keep using the word, precipitously.
Because at that point, too, that's where the transfer
What's that I hear Ryan laughing? What?
SAT words for the win.
I was going to say, is that what you got at that Southern Utah education?
That's where the transfer portal really starts to take shape.
Sure.
In the last month of the season.
Oh, man. All right. We're going to take a quick break because we have games we got to get to this week. Week 1A, week 0, 5 games, 4 FBS, FBS. We'll get Alex's thoughts. We'll get your guys' thoughts. We'll get everyone's thoughts when we get back. Sports by the Books. Football Frenzy on a Friday here at the South Point studio.
This is speed. This is winning. This is losing. This is smoke and fire. This is high stakes and wild cards. This is family and tradition. This is everything on the line. This is it. This is NASCAR in Las Vegas. The South Point 400, a NASCAR playoff race, October 10th through 12th. Get your tickets now. LVMS.com.
Football contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over $13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season, to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching?
This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
Welcome back in. It is Football Frenzy on a Friday. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White, Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo. I'm just going to go counterclockwise from now on, Vinny.
That's a good. That's all right.
That's what we're going to do.
It's like Hong Kong racing.
Oh, very good. Very good. Approaching the 1 o'clock hour here. Again, we're going to be here every Friday starting at noon. As long as we go, the best content we can give you here on football every single week leading in. We are going to week 1A, week 0, whatever you want to call it. Vinny's not giving me the, well, he just gave me the side eye, so there you go. Let's start in Dublin, Ireland to kick off the year. And guys, this is a damn good game to start the year and an important one nonetheless in the Big 12. Farmageddon, which is one of my favorite rivalries, and it's a shame I'm going to have to.
One of your favorite words, too.
Hey, look.
It's almost like precipitously.
Yeah, I do. They're both at the top, even though I don't think I get any Scrabble points for Farmageddon, though, Chris. Kansas State, Iowa State. I don't know if you saw this in what is always fun when we ship American football over to Europe. A lot of the bars in Dublin, Ryan McCormick sent me this on social media earlier today. They put the flags out for the teams. Like last year, Florida State, Georgia Tech flags were all bound Notre Dame when they played over there against whoever they played. So a few bars got the Iowa State flag, got the Cyclone flag right. But a lot of the bars, for some reason, put the state flag of Kansas up instead of Kansas State flags out there. So not a lot of purple, but a bunch of blue and gold, which is in the state flag of Kansas. Chris, this has been a fun one action-wise, where Iowa State is a 3-point favorite here at the shop. The total is 51. And, even though not a ton of movement, it has still been, again, this is by far the best game of this week coming up.
Been good action. I got to tell you, I like the dog a little bit. I mean, I'm not crazy about it, but I thought Kansas State should be a 1, maybe 1.5 point favorite. That's all. I always like Iowa State. Always, seems like to be a well-coached team. Seems like they have a decent lineup. And, K-State, I think, certainly deserves to be the favorite, and they are. But when you get that 3.5, I think that would be a play. And that's going to be around. I mean, you might see that right now even. But if I was playing, I would probably look to play Iowa State plus a 3.5.
You did go to 3.5, I think, earlier, right, Chris?
I've been there. I know. I'm not sure what I have right now, but I was.
You're
three right now. But to Chris's point, at 3.5 is it. Don't blink.
That's right.
Well,
so it won't last.
I will say our friends over at Circa, Alex, had 4 for a little bit, and I was very agitated myself that I didn't get it. That was a don't blink situation.
Yes,
Vinny.
well.
But Alex, this is just one of those where we talked about this a little bit on the regular show yesterday, where we're at a field goal now, and that total was interesting. You're looking through the total numbers where, 51, even though it's gone up 1.5 points, still may be a little bit light.
I do think it is a little bit light. I think there's more turnover on both defenses than offenses. So I think we're going to see points. Kind of used to that with the Big 12 in general, right? I've got it closer to 55 for my own number. So leading that way, 49.5 sounded a lot better. I'm leaning towards the favorite a little bit more. I don't want to lay that, of course, but I'm thinking on the money line. I'm worried about Iowa State. Now, of course, both quarterbacks return. We got Rocco Beck and Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson for K-State. People have different opinions on which one they like. Both of them are gamers. They've had to help win games, right? Late in the fourth quarter for both teams. I'm worried about Iowa State more, losing both wide receivers. Both of them, of course, now with the Houston Texans and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel both had over 1,000 yards last year. So I think that's a bigger impact. Now, I know K-State, they're losing a very good running back. I think they have running back by committee. I think they can kind of deal with that a little bit easier than his two main targets. Now, I did just recently hear that the tight end room is awesome for Iowa State, so I got to dive into that, see what kind of weapons Rocco Beck does have. But I'm leaning to the favorite. I do like the over, too.
Iowa State, of course, in the Big 12 title game a year ago, which it's kind of amazing. Getting a topsy-turvy league. They did get walloped by Arizona State, but you know what? They were still there. It's the far.
That's one game. Yeah.
Hey, look, this. Chris, Vinny, you guys would know better than Alex and I. These two programs, obviously, when Bill Snyder got to Kansas State, then things changed. Before Bill Snyder, they were a joke of a program. Iowa State was an awful program until Matt Campbell got there. And now he's turned them into a consistent bowl team. And look, if your best years are making it to Arlington, that's pretty damn good there on Ames.
Well, they go to the title game, conference title game last year with a lot of injuries, right?
Yeah.
Especially on defense. In fact, that's going to be, I think, something to look for in this game, right? Because if there's one thing that Iowa State needs to improve on, is putting pressure on the quarterback. I don't think they sacked the quarterback 20 times last year. So you've got a rebuilt offensive line for Kansas State. So when you look at that's something that's going to be the telltale element in this game. And to Alex's point on the over, it's up a couple of points off the opener too.
Yep.
So opened at 49.5. So your trend, Alex, has taken flight.
We have seen some higher scoring games there too since 2022. Northwestern 31, Nebraska 28, Notre Dame 42, Navy 3, blowout. Georgia Tech 24, Florida State 21. I don't remember Florida State getting 21, but I must have turned it off.
No, that game was tight. I mean, Georgia Tech had to kick the field goal to win the game. And at the time, it was a throw the confetti in the air. What an upset to begin the year. Boy, do we not know what was ahead for the Dulls. I'm looking at two things in this game, and I'd hate to be cliched, but I'm looking at both of these quarterbacks where both guys last year had spurts of almost unplayable play where the turnovers came up, where the decision-making was bad. And I'm concerned, like you said, with losing the Power Jays that they had a year ago. That's a problem for Rocco Becht, at least early in the season. And the one other thing to look at Matt Campbell, as good as Matt Campbell's been at Iowa State, they have been notorious slow starters over the last few years. Now, last year, remember, they blew that game against Iowa, a game they should have won in week 2. The year before that, they lost to Ohio on the road in what was one of the worst games I can ever remember, a single-digit outburst or lack thereof. I'm curious to see how Campbell handles not only playing early in the season, they're playing a week earlier than usual. So I just wonder how they handle it. I think 3 is the right number. I think I would lean to the over as well, but I'm not overly strong on that total in this one. So we'll see.
I like the dog a little bit, but I'd want to get 3.5.
Great game. Great game to start our season.
I love this
in college
game.
football.
Yeah, I really do. I love this one.
Let's go to the next one on the rotation number, and that is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, for Sam Houston State and Western Kentucky. This one is open at 9.5, got as high as 10.5. It's 10 right now on the toppers at home. The total took a pretty significant whack earlier this week. You were at 59.5 at the open, and then Chris, you went from 60.5 right to 63 earlier this week, and now it's starting to come back down the ladder at 61. So just curious, was that just like one group flew in and
it just
and
depends on who's betting it,
Yeah.
because right now, you've got Sam Houston State. And it's funny. I'm looking at my numbers. I made this number 10, and I don't know how I did that. I don't know how I did that. But I am looking at my power ratings. It comes to exactly 10. But like when you're talking about totals with teams that I have, I got a little clue on Western Kentucky. It's been like a pretty good mid-level team. But Sam Houston, I know they had great success in FBS or FCS. But now they're making that jump. But I don't know, and I never professed to be great on the totals, and just they bet us, and I respected the guys that bet us, and we moved the hell out of it. That's all I can tell you.
So new coach, right? Sam Houston with a new coach.
So Keeler went to Temple. Now it's Phil Longo as the head coach.
By the way, Sam Houston will not play a home game this year. Their stadium's being renovated. They have to play any home game designated is off campus, so they're not playing on campus the entire season. So new coach, new faces, right? Especially in this day and age of NIL and a transfer portal. But speaking of transfer portal, you got a program like Western Kentucky. They lose play. This is one of the schools where, players leave to get into the Power Four conferences, but then it's almost like a feeder.
Yes.
We talk about particularly, the Power Four schools being the minor leagues for the NFL, especially the SEC and the Big Ten. Well, certain conferences, certain schools are like feeders to the Power Four. Western Kentucky, you can make that claim. Helton, head coach, does a great job. I think he's got to replace both coordinators himself, but he just kind of, he's been there, I think this is 4th or 5th year. He just keeps reloads. Yeah. He just keeps, keeping things consistent. And so the more consistent program, Western Kentucky, double-digit favorites here. Does it hit, they took 10.5, so, obviously that's the threshold to, the buyback. But, yeah, I mean, this is a game where, again, two schools. It's going to be bad too. The other thing is because it's this week and it's an abbreviated schedule and it's the first week, people are going to. This game will draw more action. All these games really will draw more action than they normally would on a regular football Saturday because of the fact that it's such a concentrated schedule.
By the way, I looked at the FCS games that we're going to have. Every one of them's on TV.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yep.
Kenny White's going to go wild.
Yeah.
Yes,
it could be a big week.
We can have a quad box.
Absolutely. By the way, real quick on Western Kentucky, they have a 7th-year quarterback.
Yes.
So this is also going to be the last of the COVID year kids, too.
Okay.
So we're going to stop seeing these 6th, 7th-year guys after this year. Maverick McIver is the starting quarterback. Great name. Was at Abilene Christian a year ago.
For Western Kentucky?
Western Kentucky.
Yes.
I think Sam Houston's quarterback's a senior also.
Yeah,
I don't know what year senior, but
Sam Houston also again.
Hunter Watson.
Yeah, that's another transfer as well for Sam Houston, who again, boy, just another one. Sorry, not a transfer for Watson. Was a transfer before that, coming in last year with Sam Houston. That at least is good. You change the coach, you at least keep the quarterback stable.
Yes.
There at Sam Houston. All right, next. Go ahead, Alex.
Really quick, to your point about getting this quarterback from Abilene Christian, also that comes over with him. Vinny brought this up. New coordinators. Yep. Well, he comes over with him. I love those situations, right? Because then your OC already works with your quarterback. Mm-hmm. He was very good there. On the other side, with the new head coach in Longo for Sam Houston, we know it didn't work out with Wisconsin. Went there to help Luke Fickell with the air raid. Just could not get that offense going.
Oh, that was
disaster.
He has had success with it in the past, so I think it will take some time. I think Sam Houston will be better than this. 10 shows might take a little piece of it, even with as good as I think Western Kentucky will be, and getting that quarterback, 6-year senior here, and Rick Bowie as the OC. I think that's a little bit too many points. I think they could cover that with a touchdown and a field goal. Okay. So I do like the 10 there.
61 the total as well. Western Kentucky, 10-point favorites. The third biggest favorite this week. We'll get to the second biggest favorite of the week right now. They are reopening Booth Stadium in Lawrence, so back on campus after a year at Arrowhead and the soccer stadium in Kansas City for the Kansas Jayhawks. 13 here at the South Point. Jalen Daniels in his 17th year at Kansas, roughly, is still the starting quarterback. After what was a really bad year, which is weird to say because Kansas's football program was, Pete Mundo, our guest, brought it up earlier in the week. They won 4 conference games in the 2010s. Yeah. 4. And to say that 5-7 was a big disappointment just kind of shows how quickly Leipold has turned it around in Lawrence. And here you go, new offensive coordinator after I thought Jeff Grimes did a pretty poor job. Grimes is now in Wisconsin. May not be a good sign for Fickell moving forward. Jim Zabrowski is now the offensive coordinator along with Matt Lubick. But here you go, a Kansas team that a little less expectations than a year ago, but still a win total of 7 and 13-point favorites over a totally new look Fresno State team this year.
I love Kansas in this game. I think that number is too light. I think if you look at Kansas towards the end of the year last year, when Leipold's coaching, kind of came to fruition, that was a hell of a team towards the end of the year. And I think they pick it up where they left off. Kansas is one of my teams that I think is very underrated at this point. And Fresno, I think you're looking at a team that's going to be in transition right now. I mean, obviously they've had some great years over time, with DeBoers and going back to Sweeney all those years ago. And who was the coach who Pat had the Fu Manchu mustache? I love that guy. Pat Hill. So they've had their years, but I think they're in a transition right now. I really like Kansas in this game. I think that number is way, way too cheap.
Also, Vinny, new coach at Fresno, Matt Enns, comes over from North Dakota State. Obviously, big-time tradition of winning in Fargo.
Won a couple of titles there.
And Kurt Warner's son, E.J. Warner, going to get the ball to be the starting quarterback here for Fresno tomorrow, Vinny.
Well, big advantage, though, with Jalen Daniels, at quarterback for Kansas. They did take the 14, right? I mean, but
wise guys are against me. I
suspect, to Chris's point, that there'll be Kansas money that does show in this game. I mean, they just need to, for Daniels, he's going to spread the ball around. They need to improve at wide receiver than over a year ago. I'm not saying they took UNLV lightly last year, but there's another Mountain West team, right? That's looking at possibly ambush them again. And I don't think, I think they're going to be very mindful of that. And the key is, to me too, if you're Fresno, probably a dose, try to run the ball, right? I mean, the defensive secondary for Kansas was not particularly good last year, but I don't think they're going to get tested. I don't think that Fresno wants to get into a shootout with against Daniels.
Vinny, that's the key right there. Fresno used 9 different starting rotations for their own line last year. They returned 12 guys.
Yeah.
So they actually should be okay. They have a lot of veterans up front there. They're going to try to run the ball. E.J. Warren, as Jeff mentioned, led the American League in fewest INTs for 2 different schools, both at Temple and Rice. So protect the football. I gotta lean to the under here with all this being said. Maybe more of a run game. I thought for sure it'd be on Kansas, knowing that Jalen Daniels was coming back. My numbers are right there, closer to 14 actually. So I don't have a play, but I lean to the Bulldogs, kind of just playing rough and staying in this. Jalen Daniels only has 2 other guys on offense returning, so it's a complete reload for him offensively, and his 3rd offensive coordinator since he's been there. Just too many injuries. So all that said, I'm just going to stay off of it, but I think the number's right on. Looking forward to seeing what Fresno can do, and if they can rebuild faster than we think with the changes here, especially, I mean, North Dakota State bringing head coach in, and then the OC from South Dakota in Josh Davis. So let's go. Let's see what FCS, if they can bump up and compete here in the FBS.
And you mentioned it, Alex. Of course, all the receivers are in the NFL now from Kansas a year ago. Devin Neal, who was a superstar at the running back position, now in the NFL as well. Highshaw, who was a legitimate high-end backup, now will get the bulk of the carries. But, again, it might be, we'll see. It could be a slow start. Maybe a first half under in this game and then pop the full game, the second half over if teams are moving the ball.
Yeah.
In-game betting, fun. Always love in-game betting. We get to bring that back. I'm looking forward to that this weekend. All right, let's go to not as late as usual, guys, for Hawaii ball.
Yeah, it's like a 1 o'clock game.
I know. What are we doing? What are we doing? Is it going to be sunlight out in the game at Hawaii? That's not what we want. No, I'm joking.
That means humidity too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Hawaii and Stanford. So, Chris, this has been very active, this game.
Change of favorites.
Stanford opened 1, now Hawaii's 2. And the total's gotten crushed to the under from 55.5 to 50. And I don't think we're done yet on moving this total by the time this game starts. Stanford total rebuild.
Yeah.
Your favorite Andrew Luck, the general manager now, he fired Taylor. Brings in old friend Frank Reich to be the interim head coach this year. Yeah. It could take a little bit for Stanford to be good again, but look, he got a crack in front of everyone against a Hawaii team that improved as the year went along last year. And it'll be interesting to see if this team improves even further off of how they improved midseason last year.
Well, you're kind of pretty close, but I did think the opening number was a good number. Stanford won. They are, and I know they're in a total rebuild. I know they're not very good, but, that's still an ACC team, and before that, a Pac-12 team, so it's just a different level of athlete. And I don't know. Like I said, cutting it pretty close. But I thought the opening number was okay. Gun to my head, I'd take Stanford, but I wouldn't be jumping all over it.
If anything, I think that total might have dropped a little bit too low. I understand the move, though, because Hawaii, their defense was much improved last year. Brought over Dennis Thurman from the NFL and really helped to rebuild their defense that we remember in the past. It was just overs. Yeah. With Hawaii, they really couldn't stop anyone. Now they're ranked 21st in defensive production returning, so I imagine that will be the same. Quarterback, are we sure who is playing? Because I thought it was Micah. No, that's the running back. I thought it was, from Bishop Gorman.
I saw Alejado as the starter, but again,
that's
I don't.
right.
Isn't there like a
Alejado.
6th-year senior starting for Stanford quarterback?
Go ahead, Alex.
Oregon State transfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ben Goldbryson.
Goldbryson, and Elijah Brown was the competition. But
Yes.
Goldbryson, we have seen a lot of him. We saw him at Oregon State as well. But
maybe Andrew Luck gives him a few pointers along the way. Well, Frank Reich has been a hell of a coach too. I know I think there's a lot of reasons he failed at Carolina, and it wasn't always Frank's fault.
So I will say, and I just go back on this game where I thought that pick was probably good here, and maybe your one was good as well at Stanford. You have to imagine the athlete wins out in this game, but I'm so scared of what Stanford's offseason was. It's just totally in flux. Change Coach Wade. And as Alex mentioned, Hawaii's defense vastly, even though they got clocked the next to last week of the year by Utah State, Hawaii's defense went from revolving door to door that is closable, which is a big difference there, Vinny.
Well, I think you've got an athletic team, right, with Hawaii, right? That's Stanford, probably the bigger team, too,
yes.
when you look at it. If you're Hawaii, you want to probably try to run the ball. I'm not so sure you want to try to get into a high-scoring match. I think that speaks to how the total has moved as well. I think you have to credit Reich and Luck, too, because they've got a pretty upper-class laden roster, too, when you look. They didn't. Yes, people left, but a little bit older could mean something in this game. So look, I think the public's going to keep betting on Hawaii in this game. So if you're looking
2.5
at
at other shops,
you can wait for a price, and if you like them in the game, you're probably sprinkle a little something on the money line.
I believe we're gonna have some wind too, right? So that just in case people heard me say I think it's gone a little too far.
To the under?
Wait on
not
the
there yet,
yeah.
and that
Wait on the weather.
again.
as well.
The new Aloha Stadium's at least another 3-4 years away, so we're still playing on campus in that modified. Really looks like a big soccer field more so than anything.
I think this is a perfect game to just watch, right? And
I agree,
and
Alex.
not bet because we really don't know about either of these. And I want to believe in Hawaii, but they got to prove it to me first. So
Let me say this about Stanford. If you go through their history, and they've had some great quarterback play going all the way back to even before Jim Plunkett probably. But the best teams of Stanford have centered around their offensive line, a very strong offensive line. And I think that's and I don't know how to evaluate them at this point in the season, but that's something to watch out of Stanford. If they have a strong offensive line, they'll probably be better than. And by the way, I think I got bet under 3.5 on their season win total. So, I'm sure I'm going to be rooting for Stanford quite a bit this year.
Jeff, you brought up the time of this game. You know what hurts the handle on this game too?
It's not to get the total.
Well, normally this game would be you've got a pretty good schedule of NFL games too. You've got the Raiders playing at 7:00 Pacific.
Yeah.
Normally this Hawaii game would have an enormous amount of money on it, and people are going to still migrate to the NFL preseason, even though they are exactly that, preseason games.
The last college game we want to get to here is the hometown team here in Las Vegas. UNLV makes their season debut. This game was supposed to be week 3, but because of the big boxing match, Canelo and Crawford at Allegiant Stadium, they move it up here. 27. This is an interesting one with the way the market's playing this. You guys are at 27 with UNLV against Idaho State, 65.5. I see 27.5. I see 28, and I see 26.5. So the market is doing whatever the hell it feels like here at this one, Chris.
I tried to go right in the middle because I'm not Kenny White. I don't make FCS numbers, so I'm just trying to go with the market in these games. I really don't know.
Just wait and see.
This is a tough one, right?
Yeah, I mean,
the only thing I guess I would look to is UNLV team total over. Definitely a size difference here between these two, but even that makes me nervous because we are going to see every quarterback. Dan Mullen already said that we're going to see some of Alex Orji, we're going to see some of Calandria, so maybe even the third string,
maybe even some Cam Friel as well.
That's right. So that makes me a little bit nervous of just firing on UNLV. Or
might see Steve Stallworth come out of the arena.
Already Hall of Famer Steve Stallworth.
How about that?
They're going to blitz the hell out of him if they do.
Alex, you bring up a really good point because I thought that this was going to be Idaho State is completely overmatched in this game. But this is not quite the blind take the game over or take UNLV's team total over at books that will have it up. Just because I'm very curious to see what the rotation ends up being. And look, we saw Orji in Michigan. He had trouble completing forward passes. So how does that change? Coriandra, the Virginia transfer, decision-making was a question when he was at UVA. So very interested to see how that all plays out for UNLV tomorrow afternoon.
But both can scramble and use their legs too. And we do have Jet, what's his last name? Jet Thomas, that's his nickname. Jaden Thomas, Jet Thomas, running back coming back. So I do think they'll lean on their run game. Plus, they don't want to show everything right away, right, in this first one against Idaho State.
Maybe the under, too, if you
Possible.
don't with the quarterback rotation scenario, right? And, Idaho State, it's not that UNLV, we have to see a little bit more about their defense, but it's a pretty high total.
As always in these FBS, FCS games, it's when you're looking at totals, like how much do you think the FCS team is capable of scoring?
That's it.
It's the whole ball of wax here, and 65.5 is the highest total of these 5 games involving FBS teams this weekend. All right, we're going to hear a second cup of Joe, and then we're going to give out our best for week 0, week 1A, and that will be that right here. We continue on. Cup of Joe coming up right here. It is Football Frenzy. Brought to you by Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio.
Hello, sports fans. World champion handicapper, Vegas' biggest daily sports bettor, Joe D'Amico, coming to you each week with Cup of Joe. Don't do anything. Don't pull no triggers on football till you watch this segment. I am very excited. We're going to start off talking about college football. I want to go to where? Top of the morning to you. Dublin, Ireland. That's my Irish accent, sports fans. And the Farmageddon matchup between Iowa State and Kansas State. My friends, while Iowa State has had their way in this series recently, winning 4 of the last 5 straight up, covering all 5 of those games, I feel Kansas State is the play here. For starters, it looks like they are the best team in the Big 12 this season, so they must come out with an authoritative victory here to maintain that status. The Cyclones lost several of their top receivers now. While they have a good quarterback and a solid ground attack, please remember the Wildcats were monsters against the rush last season, and they are expected to be just as good this season. On the flip side, dual threat quarterback Avery Johnson will absolutely wreak havoc on a very beatable Iowa State defense. Guys, there's a lot of revenge motivating K-State here. Not only that, but as I mentioned earlier, they must live up to the preseason hype that they should take the conference. Now, the line prior to this segment was about 3. Just to err on the side of caution, I'm putting the Wildcats out on the money line minus about $1.50, give or take. I think it's when I think they cover the spread, but just to err on the side of caution, first game of the season, first release of the season, Wildcats money line is a winner. Take it and take your bookmakers' money.
We're back. Big thanks to Joe D'Amico. Of course, Kansas State money line to play for Joe. A lot of chalk for Joe today on a cup of Joe's. It's just decaf coffee. That's all it is, right? Right? I don't even know. Even though I think nothing.
Do you think Joe?
I was going to say nothing.
Joe drinks decaf.
I was going to say nothing with Joe screams decaf, but the two picks scream decaf.
Got like a double espresso.
I don't know what to tell you, Vinny. I don't know what to tell you here today. All right. Before we get out, I knew you were going to say
Think about
that.
that.
Hey, look, it's the quadruple shot espresso. There you go. Or maybe even the espresso martini when it's all said and done for our friend Joe D'Amico. It sounds pretty good right now, honestly, on a Friday afternoon.
I was going to say, happy Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, Chris, Vinny, let's go. Let's just finalize here things today because we're going to bring our whiteboards over from our regular Sports by the Book program. But you're watching us for the first time. Alex and I are live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. every single day. This show, Friday only at noon, is our start time. We had planned for an hour today. Of course, we went 90 minutes because we're talking football. How could you not go over the planned allotted time? But Alex gives out our whiteboard every day. I normally don't, but I'm going to join the party here on these Fridays for some of my favorites. But Alex, what do we have here for week 0 out of the gate here this week?
Well, that's because for those of you that have been watching us, Jeff and I used to do a Saturday and Sunday show where we would go through every single game on the board and give our leans, likes, and locks. Well,
we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that on Fridays.
To add a board now because we will be doing that on Friday. So me first.
You first.
All right, here we go. In Ireland, I am going with this over here. Iowa State, Kansas State. I don't love that I didn't get the best number, but we're going over that 51. As I mentioned, I made it closer to 55, so I think we got some value there. I'm taking an ugly dog here, Sam Houston State against Jacksonville State, who was in the championship last year, but I think that's just too many points, so bet numbers, not teams. And then lastly is a small flyer on a future, Arizona State to win the Big 12. I'm shocked that 5 teams are ahead of them right now. I think they're right there with Texas Tech roster-wise. I know they lose their best running back in Cam Scatterbo, but I still think that they can make it to the championship game, and then I can figure it out from there. So 6-1, I think that's a good number on Arizona State there.
So mine are all futures. Apologies for the horrible handwriting, but you're going to have to suck it up here, guys.
You're like the doctor that writes the prescription.
What do you want? I'm from a family of doctors and lawyers.
Well,
we don't.
You ever wonder that too? How does the pharmacist know?
The pharmacists are the
All
smartest
right,
people on
ahead.
earth,
Sorry.
Vinny. You know that. So I have 3 CFP bets that I'm putting out now because I'm not sure if books are going to pull some after Saturday. Miami Hurricanes 2-1 to make the CFP. If they beat Miami, that number will not be there at books that offer it. Great game at week 1.
They beat Notre Dame.
That's who did I say?
You said Miami.
Well, Miami is capable of beating Miami, as you know.
That's the favorite right now. Mario Cristobal is the coach, right?
You know that. That's a scary thing. Good Cristobal team to do something positive, but yeah, Miami doesn't beat Miami. But hey, that happens all the time. The homer pick of the day for me, I am taking a flyer, and this will be only a 0.3 of a unit play on Mizzou to make the playoff at 9-1, solely because they have 8 home games. They have 8 home games in the SEC in their road slate. They go to Auburn, they go to Oklahoma, and the other 2 games are Vandy and Arkansas games. They very easily could be favored in and probably will be favored in. So I'll take a flyer on that. And then I'm up on Chris on Utah. I think the Utes are bound for a huge year just because of the stability at the quarterback position. The only hesitation is they have a very difficult schedule. They play the other top 4 of the top 5. They play the other 4 teams that are in the top 5. They do get 3 of them at home. They do have to go to BYU, which is always an insane rivalry game, even though this may not be a great year for BYU after their tremendous year a year ago. Plus 450 to make the CFP. I'm just going to take the out just in case if they have a massive year, lose the Big 12 title game and still get in, because I think Baylor's capable of winning the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think Arizona State, as Alex has, is capable of winning the Big 12. And Texas Tech, as our guest Pete Mundo said earlier in the week, more than capable of winning the Big 12, Alex.
I really like Texas Tech, too. I like Utah, too. I'm right there with you. The schedule just definitely took me off of it. Going through it with those top teams, I think Arizona State and Baylor are pretty live there to make it to the championship game. Have
Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty favorable schedules for conference. So we'll see.
Chris, Do you have any plays for week 0 this week, or are we?
I'm the bookmaker, so but I do like I like Iowa State. If you can get the 3.5, I would say get the 3.5. And I like Kansas. I think that Kansas right now. I love Leipold. I think he's just been a terrific coach. Even when he was at Wisconsin Whitewater and then went to Buffalo, and now I think he's going to do a hell of a job at Kansas, and I think he's turned that program around. I think they have a bounce back year. I think, and starts on Saturday.
Vinny, anything else we need to know heading into the weekend?
Just, you know what, folks? You don't have to bet every single game. It's a short schedule. Pay attention. If there's something that you don't see, remember, take advantage of the in game. It's available. And if you need to pass on a game, watch it anyway, just to kind of study for when the team's next game and how it may impact that game, that number, and your opinion on it. So you can still watch. You don't have to make the plays, but pay attention to what's happening.
I disagree with Vinny. You have to bet every game. Even if you don't like it, just throw a dart somewhere.
And don't watch and don't write anything down. Just go off a feel.
No, just pick them out of the hat. Just go from there.
Yeah.
By the way, of course, obviously next week parlay cards start off again. Yeah. There is one parlay card available, the jackpot parlay card available for week 1 of the NFL season. $5. As many cards as you want.
No point spreads.
No point spreads. One total now because the NFL likes going to Brazil now in these week 1 games.
We had to add a total.
So one total on the board as well. $5, as many as you want. $25,000 guaranteed. If it goes through $25,000, which we would hope it does it again. Always has. It just gets added right back to you, the player. So it would be more than $25,000 guaranteed.
Just really quick, sorry, I know we're over time, but you changed that a little bit with the total so people could hedge. What was that little small change you made?
What did I do?
Oh, you made the total for the Sunday night
I put the total for the
game.
Sunday night game because ordinarily other times when we needed a total, we'd put it on the Monday night game. But then you needed 2 games.
Right.
It was harder for guys to hedge. I mean, listen, this is a card for the players.
Sure.
And ideally we'd have like about 100 guys split. Usually it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Usually it's 1 guy or 2 or 3 guys. But we want, give guys an opportunity to hedge at final game. So,
I love that.
That game is essentially a pick 'em anyway. So, I think give some guys some opportunity to do something.
Football's back. It's the best. We're looking forward to a great season here on Football Frenzy. Every Friday at noon, we'll get going. We'll go as long as we go to get you ready. Don't worry, we won't keep you for 12 hours because these 2 gentlemen on the end would get in a little bit of trouble upstairs if they were down here for 12 hours. So we'll make sure we're back next week, 12 noon, week 1, college football. Then after that, college football and NFL every single Friday, 12 noon right here at the South Point studio here at the South Point Hotel and Casino, as always, on the Sports by the Book channel. He's Vinny Magliulo to my left. Chris Andrews on the other side of the desk. Alex White just to my right. I'm Jeff Parles. This has been Football Frenzy on a Friday, the debut for 2025 here on the Sports by the Book channel with the South Point studio. Ryan, Jerry, Vince, and Sean, Drew Dog, and Vince. Thank you all, as always. We will see you again on this channel on Monday at 10 a.m. We'll see you again on this program on Friday at 12 noon. Our whiteboard's right there. If you missed any of the program, get back to the beginning as soon as we're done and watch it back if you missed any of it. We'll see you next time. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy here at South Point Studio.